Holly, take it away. Tell us about the first Omen.
So the first Omen is, unsurprisingly, a prequel to the Omen films. It is set in 1971, which, if I remember rightly, is the year that the Omen itself is released. Or was it released in 73? Either way,
Gregory Peck one.
yes.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
check. You keep talking, I'll check.
So it is set in the year the Omen begins. And there is a young American girl who has moved over to Italy. She is a novice within the Catholic Church and is looking to take her vows, and is met at the station by Bill Nye, who is a
Yes.
cardinal. There is a bit of a sort of prequel or opening sequence that's the obligatory such thing that precedes this, and off she heads towards this orphanage where she's going to be living, as they head through Italy, and it's rather sort of turbulent times, the early 70s, where there are big student protests and things. She settles into the orphanage very well, where everybody's lovely and very friendly. And all of the children there are lovely. The nuns are lovely. She has a roommate whom she makes friends with, who's also a novice and is about to take her vows. Um, they go out for a bit of a night on the town, as she sort of, as a sort of last hurrah. So she has her first ever night in a bar, in a club, and all sort of ticks along, and she becomes close to a young girl in the orphanage who seems quite troubled, uh, and who is a nice girl, but clearly, there has been
you know when you said trouble, you said, "Oh, coast a girl in the orphanage who go," and I was like, well, looking at the topic of the movie, I was going to say possessed. She seems quite possessive.
troubled. And our novice becomes very, very attached to her, but starts to, and is worried for her.
Yeah.
And she is approached by a priest, who may or may not be familiar, to those who have seen more of the franchise, who says, I am, I think this girl is part of something. And they start, she is drawn into trying to understand what's going on, what leads to the first Omen film.
Yes. So I mean, this might just be me with my sort of like, horror aversion coming in, but going yes, and then horror type stuff happens.
And
We
then
know,
stuff happens.
horror type stuff happens. It's called the first Omen. We know what's going to happen. Set up, blah blah blah. Horror stuff happens. Now the question is the horror type stuff any good?
It is. I have to say,
Okay.
I was expecting it to be a lot of old rubbish, and, as reminiscent of Immaculate.
Apparently there's a lot of similarities with Immaculate.
There are. Whilst also not being the same, but there are certainly, a fair few correlations for two films that come out in the same year, within the same month, I think.
They came out in the same month, yeah.
And it's well structured. It doesn't focus on jump scares, which is nice and frankly a bit novel these days. Well put together, a good prequel to it. It's did I spotted some of the twists and turns. I didn't spot all of them. Yeah, I liked it. It was, would recommend, would watch again. Is not going to change the world, but it has made me think I want to go back and watch the Gregory Peck Omen again, which I haven't seen in forever and a half.
Yes.
And was a very well put together film, and it feels like it has the right sort of flow between the two.
Yeah, cool. Well, so the right mixture of homage and and being its own thing. All
Yeah,
right. So
it's
so
a standalone film. But when you know what's coming, it is, I think it adds an extra something. So it's, as these sorts of films go, I think is a good one.
cool. So you know you have to no, we obviously have to quantify how much you like it.
I'm going to give it a high three. It's not going to change the world, but it's a very watchable film that I would recommend.
Okay,
Not quite,
so
not quite a four.
a high three for the first Omen.